so the big things that we wanted to talk about was just some safety tips that most cyclists are already going to know, but just maybe some things to kind of go over that you absolutely have the right to do as a cyclist. And then we want to talk about bad drivers, because we've all seen it. It's going to happen, and it's going to continue to happen. There's just nothing that we can do about it. We share the road with road users, and they share the road with us. So also we'll talk about dogs, because we've all came across those situations, or just aggressive animals in general. It doesn't have to be a dog, it could be a chicken. And then we'll talk about incidents and accidents, and then when those do happen, what do we need to do when those happen? What is the protocol from the office episode? What's our protocol, people? What do we follow? So that's what we want to get to there later. But it's again, and Jackie said a great her message earlier to me this week, and I had to steal it. So this is straight from Jackie. But what every cyclist hopes to avoid, but should know how to handle. And then because it's not if it happens, it's when it happens. What are you going to do when it happens? It's not if it happens. We can sit here and play the what if game all day. Absolutely my favorite game in the world, especially in law enforcement. But when it happens, what do I need to do? How am I going to react? That's the two biggest things. So with all that said, I thought I'd get into the first bit of it. It's just talking about my experience as a cyclist and as a law enforcement officer. Like Miss Jackie said, I am Kyle Bodoff. I've been with Knox County Sheriff's Office for 11 years. Started my career in corrections, working in the jail for 1 year, and then I went to the Patrol Academy a year after that, and started my patrol career going to the Regional Academy. Spent my time there, went through field training, and then after field training, I started my job as a patrol officer. I spent 6 years as a patrol officer, and then after 6 years, I decided that I needed something more stressful to do, and something more to give me that drive that I've got as a Type A person, that I decided to get a canine. And so for the last 6 years, I've worked my canine partner, Dolly. And so again, I'm a little shy and stuff, because usually I have a cute puppy dog to hide behind when I do this.
Did you bring Dolly?
No, I did. Yeah, I do a bunch of other stuff in between. I even said that I was going to, but
yeah, I was like,
in between, I know. So usually I have a cute little dog to hide behind to kind of take the brunt of at you and public speaking and all that. So again, but I spent 6 years, or have still working Canine Dolly for the last 6 years since 2020. She is a dual-purpose canine, so she's a narcotic canine, and then her dual purpose is the police side of it, meaning she can do the apprehension, tracking, all the hard stuff to do with a dog. It's easy for me to get her and walk her around a car or a building, and she can tell me if she smells any of the odors of drugs. So I spent the last 6 years doing that. But in between, as a patrolman, what I have to do as a patrolman is I work routine patrol. I answer alarms, like if Miss Jackie would set the alarm on here, I answer alarms. I come out, hey, is everything okay? Or if nobody's there, run around the house, make sure, check every door. But then also I work traffic. That's part of my job in Knox County, is I have to respond to traffic crashes, I have to respond to traffic problems. So I have, over 10 years of being on the road, I became really adept to knowing bad drivers, knowing how to react to bad driving, because I drive a patrol car literally probably more than anything in my life. And I've learned how to investigate those types of things. So it's always good that I can hopefully bring some of that experience and kind of enlighten some people that maybe you didn't know about that with traffic. But then also on the other side of things, as a cyclist, I was telling some of these ladies over here at this table that I started my cycling, I don't know what to call it really now it's an obsession, but before it was a simple, I got into the Police Unity Tour, which is we ride 300 miles from New Jersey. Our chapter goes from New Jersey down to DC in 4 days, 300 miles. Each cyclist has to raise $2,200 in donations to donate to the wall. In short, though, that got me hooked. That was my end, I guess, to, well, I kind of like this. And then I started doing more, and then I started cyclist, but now I've gotten to this whole side of things. You know, now I'll go out on my own rides, and I go on a solo ride, and I have to be extra cautious of traffic and things like that. So I've gotten to really know that side of things as well as a cyclist. So it's really kind of opened my eyes up. The two worlds have kind of came together, and I think that there might be some things that I can offer for the discussion tonight about that, between both my worlds kind of coming together. So we'll just go ahead and kick off, and we'll kick off with some of the road riding tips that I kind of came up with. And some of them I kind of talked to. There was some veteran riders in here and stuff, but also might be some newer riders and stuff. So some of them might kind of be like, oh yeah, we know that, but it's always good to kind of maybe, oh yeah, we can do that, right? And again, I handed that out on everyone's table. There is a section at the end that you can, if you want to scribble a note or two, you can. Mainly, it's just something that I thought that maybe you could take home and look at later, just refresh your memory. The biggest thing I put on there was smack dab. First thing is the state law that allows you to be a cyclist on the roadway, right? Because you have the right to be on the road, right? No matter what, in the end, you are a road user. That's the way to think of it. Cars are road users, you're a road users. I mean, now ATVs, people running around in their little four-wheel drive things are technically road users. So. But anyway, so that's just something just maybe to look over a little bit later, maybe refresh your memory. I did add a URL, I think is what it is, where you can maybe type that in later and just pull up some of those other laws that were just something to look over. But we'll get to that in just a second, and then on the back, some useful numbers for if there are aggressive animals or dogs or something that here in the Blount County area that you can call and report or let know of. But we'll get to that in just a second, and then also the incidents. And like I said, we'll get to that section in just a second as well. But let's start with just the road riding tips that I kind of came up with, and this was that kind of the safety tips that we talked about, like maybe just going over, and as a law enforcement officer, just something that I kind of think of, because the biggest thing for me is now I'm a field training officer for the last almost 8 years of being on patrol, right? And so now I'm training people that are coming in behind me to how do they do this job the safest that they can to make sure that they go home to their families, right? Because again, that is the ultimate goal of law enforcement. I'm going to go home, you're going to go home, I'm going to make sure you go home, or we're going to go home, right? Everybody's going to go home. So the biggest thing is knowledge, right? The knowledge of knowing stuff, and the cans and what you cannot do on the road is everything for law enforcement. What I can and cannot do as a law enforcement officer is everything. And so I think that comes over into the cycling career or cycling side as well, right? So that's why I kind of wanted to brush up on the state law as well. So I'm just going to actually read this off just almost word for word just to start here, just to kind of put it out there that you have every right to the road that motor vehicle does, okay? So Tennessee state law regarding road cycling, it's TCA 558175, operation of vehicles. 1, any person operating a bicycle upon a roadway at less than normal speed of traffic at the time and place and under the conditions then existing shall ride as close as practicable to the right-hand curb or edge of the roadway except under any of the following situations. When overtaking and passing another vehicle proceeding in the same direction, when preparing for a left turn at an intersection or into a private road or driveway, or when reasonably necessary to avoid conditions including, but not limited to, fixed or moving objects, parked or moving vehicles, pedestrians, animals, surface hazards, or substandard width lanes that make it unsafe to continue along the right-hand curb or edge. For purposes of this section, substandard width lane means a lane that is too narrow for a bicycle and another vehicle to travel safely side by side within the lane. 1, persons riding bicycles upon a roadway shall not ride more than 2 abreast except on paths or parts of roadways set aside for the exclusive use of bicycles. Persons riding 2 abreast shall not impede the normal and reasonable movement of traffic and on a laned roadway shall ride within a single lane. Subdivision B1 does not apply to certified police cyclists. We won't get into that because, I don't think anybody's a certified police cyclist, right? Because you should be up here doing it. And then it goes on to talk about the Jeff Roth and Brian Brown Bicycle Protection Act in 2007, which I will get to here in a little bit, because that ties directly to our little area here. And I don't know if there's many that might know that. I'm sure there are. Yeah. And so the operator of a motor vehicle when overtaking and passing a bicycle proceeding in the same direction on the roadway shall leave a safe distance between the motor vehicle and the bicycle of not less than 3 feet, and it shall maintain the clearance until safely past the overtaken bicycle. And a violation of any of that is a Class C misdemeanor, which is a traffic citation. Okay? So that means the officer comes out, gets out their little ticket book, and they write a citation for the cyclist or the driver. Can go either way, right? Okay, so just know that we have to follow the same rules that a motor vehicle would, as if you were driving your vehicle. It's the same rule. You can get that citation just as quick as they can. Okay? So again, that's the state law. I kind of wanted to just put that out there because sometimes I don't know of many people that could probably tell me the details of that state law of what you can and cannot do as far as
I would say
cyclists.
there's a lot of police officers that don't know that.
Right, and a lot of them is that, and a lot of what I hear on the cycling side is, oh, we just have to follow the same rules that a motor vehicle does. You're right. That is absolutely right. Okay. So again, we'll come back to some of that a little bit because when we get into the incidents and things like that, that's what I want to talk to. But the next kind of safety tip that I wanted to get to was also one of the first ones that I have with a new trainee that comes in. You know, hey, bought off or paired up with Jack, whatever his name is. I forget his name within the first few minutes. He's just riding in the passenger seat until he starts driving, and then I get a little nervous. But the new kid comes in, and I can say it. Okay. I can say new kid. I've got enough time in. But anyway, he comes in, he's over there, he's all, big chested, like I'm a police officer, and no you're not yet. But anyway, the first thing with him is they're coming into this from the academy, they went through all this, oh, I know how to shoot, I know how to run, I know how to blah, 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 blah. Okay, tell me what your location is. Could you tell me what your location is? Besides saying psychology bicycles, could you tell me what your location is? I'd say I can't pull up psychology bicycles. Could you tell me what road you're on? Can you tell me what your closest cross intersection is? Right? So that is the first thing I wanted to hit on with our safety on the road is location, location, location. That is the biggest thing when it comes to law enforcement, location, location, location. Because, God forbid I get hurt. Now I've got to rely on this kid that just came out of the academy that's got to tell the dispatcher where the hell we are to get help to us, right? No, it's a very serious, and I wanted to bring that into this side of it as well because it's something that when we go out on rides, we're there for the fun of it, we're there for the enjoyment of it, we're there, mine goes out the window sometimes, right? And that's something I'm going to keep touching on throughout the whole thing. You lose track of where you're at, right? You lose track of what road you're on. So that was the biggest thing that I wanted to make sure of why it's important on our law enforcement side, but it's also something that I have brought into the cycling side that I'm like, obviously very mindful. She took me on a new road this morning, and I'm like, where are we going? Where are we? And it was great. I love riding on new roads. Love going up and being like, I don't know where the heck we are. Like I don't know where we are. I know what road we're on, but I don't know where we are as far as like shifting. Like that's my thing. Like, am I about to be in trouble? Like we're about to go straight uphill, so that's my big thing.
If I might just add a little bit, it's hard to know where you are when half the intersections in Blount County only list one street, not both.
Right.
And
Well,
so,
people still sign.
but
Right.
Paige Pearson Craig, I don't know if you know her, but she's a cop, and she used to be part of Women's Rights here. She'd always say, "Where are you?"
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm right here on. No, where are you?
Yeah.
Like to know the roads, even though we're riding them and we get them on our GPS to really understand what is that intersection that you just passed.
Yeah, and-
Are you able to tell a cop if somebody came out or a dog or, you know?
And it doesn't have to be so much of the road name, the intersection. You can
Yeah.
think about it in simple terms. And this is again getting more in detail of what I was thinking. But with a PO, I'm like, I don't care if you tell them that we're the third white house on Old Wallen on the left. Like you've at least given some detail. And so that could be okay. I'm on Old Wallen. I am in between, even if it's just block, like the 300 block of, I don't
And a
know.
lot of people, most
the
people
300
have
Yeah.
house numbers now.
Right, mailboxes, house numbers,
Sure.
all of that is a description of where you are. So that is extremely crucial, especially when we get into the later stuff that I want to get into about the incidents and things like that. Because the first thing that they're going to ask you is, where are you? Right?
Like, can I drop your pin?
Yeah, hang on, let me, oh crap, I have no service. Like, go up in the Tremont, no service, right? So, but again, that is like extremely crucial. So that's just something to think about is next time you're out on your ride, just keep track of it, at least the road that you're on. What road am I on? I'm on Old Wallen. Okay, cool. That's at least something. And then if, God forbid, something happens and you're able to be like, okay, that's 321 Old Wallen because I know I'm on Old Wallen, right? And then you're able to tell me exactly where you are, okay? So extremely important. I think that location choice comes down to a huge part of our riding, right? And I know that's kind of a whole deep, yeah, obviously we know that we're not going to go out and ride constantly on 321 at, 8 in the morning or 5 in the afternoon. That's the most traffic that you could possibly deal with, right? So that was just a simple touch on just your road choice of where you're at, knowing, kind of have a general idea of those roads, just how busy those roads are. Like, I'm a little weary out towards my way of, Y Road and Jeffries.
Jeffries
Oh,
Road.
yeah. I'm always like, every time Eljoy cuts out there, I'm like, is there any way I can cut around? Like, I just always weary about that because people, it's 45 miles an hour, people do 60. And
Well, where the sun is, too.
Yeah.
Is the sun that low in the driver's side where they're not gonna see me because they're.
Right,
blind
right,
by the
yeah,
sun.
yeah, exactly.
And I'm
You're-
always like, where's the sun at?
yeah, you're riding west and cars are coming right behind you, right? Because we're supposed to ride on the right side of the road, right? And stay towards the side. And yeah, you're right. You're heading westbound at 5, 6 in the afternoon that's probably not a great choice, So that's something else just to kind of touch on is just remember that. Obviously we all like less vehicular traffic, but that kind of helps create that little bit of a safety without, kind of not avoidance, but you're avoiding the most amount of traffic. Not that you have to, right? But think of yourself that they're a 20,000 pound metal vehicle and you're a 16 pound. Maybe
Get out.
she's not in the 16 pounds. She's in like a 14 pound Cervelo over here. So the other thing is, and it's so funny because she walked up and she's like, "You bought my wheels." I'm like, "Yeah, I did." Like, and then she introduced herself, and I literally just bought her carbon wheels, and she had her rim brake. That's what I use, and so it worked out great. It's awesome to meet her here and stuff. So, but anyway, the next thing that I was wanting to touch on is just the road space, right? That we as cyclists feel like, oh, we're the supposed to be the ones on the far side of the road. Oh, I'm going to run into the ditch to avoid this car behind me. No. You have every much of that amount of road that car does, okay? Now to ride safely, we say that right tire track area is probably a good spot. You're at least about a foot off of the curb from the right side. Great spot. You do not have to ride in that gutter. You do not have to ride on that gravel side of the road. I know that we get on 321 a little bit, and I kind of like to lean over towards the side, and I'm going to end up with a puncture most likely, probably because But you can get in that right tire lane of that road and stay there. Okay, you have every amount to at least take that amount of road, right? I just want to talk about that because sometimes that confidence of being on that road, you you have every right to be there, okay? And if there was something that was to happen, like, they have every right, the right of way of that roadway that vehicle is, okay? So that was something I was talking about, because some people can get real nervous and scared, especially newer. I know that I was a little nervous of being on the road, but luckily I think my experience as a cop gave me a little bit more confidence. But I know a newer rider can sometimes be like, I don't know if I want to be that close to the car. I'll stay over here in this gravel, ditch or in the mud ditch on Old Wallen on the side, and then you end up in the bushes. So I just want people to have that confidence that you have every mount of that road, that vehicle, okay? And again, approach to intersections. That was a big thing that I've kind of came across seeing. Approach intersections that you can take a more dominant presence with the road positioning to help stopping other road users from attempting to pass you when it's not safe. So you come up to that intersection, it's okay. It even says it in the state law that you can move away from that right curve and start inching towards that lane or the center divider of the two lanes, right? You have every right to do that. You take that presence. That's again, that confidence thing. Is take that presence. When you're coming up to an intersection, when you're here at the doorway, and you start seeing it, start moving out. As long as it's clear, and make sure there's no car trying to pass you right then. Obviously, check over and make sure it's clear, but start moving over. Like, you have that right to be there, right? And that creates that presence of, oh, I see them, right? I'm going to wait until after this intersection before I try to pass them. I think that is an extremely huge confidence thing. And again, we'll get to any questions and stuff, so just write them down if you have questions about anything I'm saying, and we can go over it again, just so I don't just brush over stuff. I think the biggest thing is using correct signals, and that is something I'm somewhat within the last 2 or 3 years being in a group, right? Is those correct signals. Now I knew, from just normal traffic school or whatever, that when I'm riding down the road, I need to go like this if I'm going to go left or go right, But just learning other things and learning how to communicate in a group and stuff has been a huge safety benefit. So again, that's the next thing I hit was communicate. Communicate. When you're by yourself or when you're in a group. Obviously very much when you're in a group, but also you're going to have to communicate when you're solo, right? Because if you're on the right side, you're like, oh, that's my turn, and you turn and there's a car coming, technically that's your fault, right? You can get that citation if you're not dead, right? And so, right. But you, again, back to the state law. The state law says you can be there. The state law says you can be there, but you have to follow the same rules that a vehicle will follow, right? So that's that same thing. Blinker, turn, clear. You got to make sure it's clear, and then make your turn. It's the exact same law, okay? So communicate. That is communication, right? You're communicating to the other people that without verbal communication, you're communicating to them that you're going to make that left turn and do it in enough time. Does anybody know what the amount of time it is for a cyclist, a vehicle, it doesn't matter, to use your turn signal before you make that turn? No, right? It's just the cop coming up and saying, hey, you didn't turn your signal on in enough time, right? And then you're like, okay. It's like, no, I think I turned it on 500 feet. 500 feet. 500 feet before the turn, you're supposed to be signaling that you're going to make that turn, okay? And so I said I was going to crack a joke, and I remembered it, so, all right. So the other thing is group riding, safety in group riding, right? Excessive chatter. I mean, we're all there to have a good time, a social time, and things like that. But what's the first thing you start talking? You start, oh yeah, did this, blah, 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 blah. We all know a Paul, right?
Yes.
That was my joke. That was my joke. We all know a Paul.
We
Paul
love Paul.
is great. Love him to death, but sometimes I'm like, Paul. Go to the back, something.
Yeah.
Like
I have to tell him, I'll be like, car back.
Yeah.
And then I'll wait. And I'll be like, car back.
Yeah.
And I wait, and I'm like, Paul,
Yeah.
car back, you
Yeah.
know, or
Yeah, he's
come
just-
in, you know,
he's
because
just
he's
talking.
oblivious, because
That's-
he's too
well,
into his
he's
conversation.
a chatty.
Yeah.
I love
He's
him,
happy,
love him to
you
death.
know, but
And,
still.
and then I'll ask him one question and it turns into a whole. Yeah. So anyway, but we love talking on group. That's why we're there, right? It's the social aspect of it, which is absolutely, please enjoy that, because that doesn't happen in today's world. Especially, we get younger cyclists that come out and stuff, like that doesn't happen anymore. Like today we had that young
Yes,
kid out,
Hunter,
he was
yes.
blowing, just let it go.
He's like,
But-
I'll bring young people when
Yeah.
I come back. I'm
Yeah.
like, good.
Yeah, but
I want to keep up, yeah.
yeah,
No, I was
but
kidding.
that
Yeah,
whole
was great.
social aspect of just talking, chatting with each other, like you're actually having that face-to-face conversation that nobody has anymore, at least in definitely the last 6 years. So definitely enjoy that, be a part of that. I'm not saying do not take advantage of that. I'm just saying maybe just in safety mindset, just be thinking of in the background, like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to actually be operating this thing, and and there's other people with me. And so that's just in a group, sometimes just be cautious of that excessive chatter and stuff, especially if it's lots of vehicle traffic, lots of intersections coming up. Just kind of be a little bit more mindful of what's going on around you. Let's see. Like again, that's what I was getting to. Always being aware at all times of your situation, what's going on, what cars are around you, what's going on, what festival's going on in Townsend that month. And then also never assume, right? My favorite thing that I always love in FTO is what is assume? It makes an ass out of you and me, right? Assuming what another user may do, right? Never assume, right? Literally Monday, that ride I was just talking to you that I left from my house. Loved it. Came all the way across from Seymour, went on into Old Wallen, went all the way down into Townsend. Barely had a car pass me. I get to Townsend and get on 321 and just going along, enjoying my day, and next thing I know, there's a Jeep coming, and he's in the center turn lane, right? I have the right of way, right? Coming up to an intersection that has a stop sign, they stop, I'm coming, Jeep decides to turn. I had no idea that I was coming down the road, right? So that was a perfect example. Luckily, I had plenty enough time to even know what was going on. I saw his front wheels start to do that, and that was my indicator that, well, I better figure out something else.
Yep.
And so I looked back, made sure that the left lane was clear on 321, darted over the left lane, luckily was able to let him do whatever the heck he was going to do. And of course that ended with me doing that on my way back. Yeah. So, and then of course he's like waving like, oh, I saw you at the last second. But anyway, that's something that I couldn't have done any different. That was just that other road user that I couldn't have assumed that he sees me and that he's going to do what he's supposed to do. And I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. But he didn't. So, okay. So again, never assume what another road user may do. Be aware and react when need be. And that was what I was getting to, is how to watch and observe the intentions of the other driver. I think this is great, because I don't think a lot of people outside of law enforcement even think of this stuff, okay? How to watch and observe the intentions of another driver. Tell me what you guys think might be good intentions of another driver. Like, I'm driving down the road, what's my intentions as I'm coming towards you, right? What could you look for? What body cues? What could you look for on the vehicle that indicates what I'm about to do? Is there anything at all?
So you can see if they're looking at you. Do they see, are they looking down?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the first thing, eye contact, right? I made eye contact with that dude and realized he was oblivious to my presence at all. Like, I could have literally been doing this on the ride. He was literally just staring straight down the road, and he looked over at the person that was at the stop sign, and I guess he was like, well, that's clear, and then turned. And I literally saw it in his eyes of, he does not see me, right? And then I mentioned it earlier, what was the other thing?
Saw his car.
I saw his front tires, right? That is the perfect indicator of what a vehicle coming towards you is going to do. Obviously, you can tell when they're moving forward, right? That they're moving forward, right? But the other thing is when they start to do that or that, That's what's gonna turn that vehicle, is those front tires. So you can see them on that left side, driver's side, if it's coming towards you, okay, he's starting to turn, so I've gotta figure out what's my next plan of action, right? So that was just the biggest thing that I kinda wanted to talk about, was just watching those front tires, making eye contact with people. That's the biggest thing. You coming up to, on Old Walnut, when those people pull off to the side of the road to go fish or swim or whatever, you know, I like to go swim in the creek too, but you'll see them down there with their kids and stuff, and they pull off on the side of the road, right? You ever been going down there and they're still in their car? Yeah. What might happen? The kid opens the back door, they don't look, they don't give a crap about you, right? Probably parents don't either, but, you know. But what's something that you could look like, okay, I realize they're still sitting in the vehicle. I'm watching, are they like doing this in the car, like talking, looking around, like that obviously the door starts to crack, that's an indicator that they're about to open the door. But watching this.
Flies open.
Right, sometimes it does, it just flies open. That's where you're gonna have that evasive maneuver, which I'll talk about that in a
That's
second.
how many feet, if somebody opens the door, how many feet do you need to be away from that vehicle?
Yeah, that's.
Clear that.
Yeah, and again, that's part of that state law that says to avoid that vehicle, you have every right to take presence in the inside part of the lane, right? So you have every part to go towards the center divider to get around that vehicle. And it even says in state law that you can do that. But that's the thing, is watching their eyes, right? Hopefully a conscientious person is going to be looking in their side view mirror. You see them look in their side view mirror, you make eye contact with them, okay, awesome. You know, that's good. Wave, do something that shows, I love that when I go by intersections. I'll wave if they've stopped, just as a thank you, or hey, hope you see me. You know. But again, that's something too. Just be cautious of that when you're going past those vehicles, those opening doors. Obviously, that's a cyclist nightmare. Making that eye contact with them, starting to kind of read those body cues, right? Like making eye contact, they're not making eye contact with you. They obviously don't know you're there, right? That's what I immediately am just. They don't know I'm here. So what's my next plan of action, right? If there's going to be a situation where they're turning or something like that. Obviously, cars coming past us, just watching their intentions. Like, okay, they're going to keep going past us. Again, so that pretty much wraps that up. And then, of course, I got into the age-old debate of the riding single file or riding two abreast. Feels like that's just one of those ones you just, I don't know. And so I thought I would eventually open that up for kind of those benefits and suggestions of other people, like, you know, just kind of like that group thinking is what needs to happen on those group rides, and just what are we going to do in situations here and there. I don't think we've ever really, that I've been part of, had that conversation of, oh, this is what we're going to do in this situation, because we always have different riders, newer riders come in, different things like that. But I think that is absolutely something that needs to be, that conversation needs to be had. Because is it better to ride single file or two abreast? The law says that you have every right to ride two abreast, no more than two abreast down a roadway, right? And when there are vehicles, it does ask that you move into a single line. But again, you're in a group of today 14,
13, yeah.
13, 14, 15, moves into a single file. Golly, on a road like Old Wallen that does that the whole way, like.
It's like a mile long.
Yeah, I mean, you're asking a lot from that other, even if the person's like, oh crap, like, I'm trying to, you know, that is a lot. That's a long train to have to floor it and then and then it turns, you know. So I think you have to, my considerations, I think, and that's what I talked to, I think, Cal the last 2 weeks ago about, because she asked the same thing. What about this? She's great with questions. As far as asking like a police mindset of it, and I'm like, okay, Cal. But anyway, I think from my suggestions with that is knowing the location, obviously location, right? That knowing kind of, and that's the hard part of having a newer rider or something like that, but obvious rides that you've been on, you know the roads, right? You know what's coming up ahead, you know what the incline might be or something like that, but just knowing your location of what might be more beneficial for this situation. And I think that that's where it falls back on that communication as well, right? That communication that, hey, no, we need to stay two abreast because we have so many people that will stretch out, and then it can change immediately because you change the next corner, right? But then it also might be more beneficial, like on a more straightaway, that, okay, that straight line is easier to pass as a vehicle, right? Because you got to think that that amount of riders was the next thing that I was going to say. How many riders do you have in the group? You have a group of 3 or 4, absolutely single file it all day long. That car can get around eventually once it straightens out. But like you have a large group, 15 riders, that's going to be a little bit of a harder situation unless you're on 321, right? Just going straight down the main roadway for a car to get around. But at that point, you've got 4 lanes. So that's just something I think that needs to be, like I said, discussions with whatever group you're riding with. If you're riding with a group, you obviously don't have to worry about it if you're a solo rider, but riding in a group, I think that's definitely some good discussions. Maybe that's the next discussion to have on the group ride is,
Yeah.
what do we get on this road? What are we gonna, if cars come up, is it better to be single file or 2 abreast, If we get on the straightaway here, is it better to be single file, 2 abreast? How many people do we got? I think location and how many people do you have? That's the 2 biggest things that come down.
So what we do, Kyle, is depending on the situation, of course, and Hunter was a young man that joined first group ride ever.
Yeah.
First group ride, and he was a mountain biker. He was like, this is my first group ride. So if you're new to a group, and especially if it's your first group ride, to say, I'm new to this group, or this is my first group ride. And he said that to me, and I coached that young man down the road and then out. And I talked about stuff like that. I was like, okay, listen now, we can ride 2 abreast, but when you see a car back, you need to start thinking about how to get over, because we don't want to be the ones that piss off, even though, we just want to be good ambassadors on the road and all this. So, but here as a women's cycling group, depending on the situation, we talk about whether we should break into pairs and put a 1/10 of a mile between us so the cars can go around, or whether we should single up or not. So those are some good conversations that we try to continue to have and should have more of.
Yeah, definitely something to consider. Just helps with that safety. And then you can discuss the benefits of each. And then we kind of chipped on him a little bit at the end there. I think when we came out on the L-Joy back up to get on right there at the high school.
Yeah.
I think it's
Tuckawee,
yeah, or Colder and stuff.
Yeah.
And he got on that main road, and we're like, "Hey, dude, like you're gonna want to tuck in on this one. Like these people do not give a crap." Like we were like, "Yeah, get in." Anyway, so and the next thing, and I think I've got a lot more than I think we bargained for tonight. So I do want to get into the incidents and stuff, but again, that safety stuff, I'll quit trying to blab so much. But another thing I think would be really good to practice is those evasion techniques, right? And that is a huge thing in law enforcement when we go through driving school and stuff like that, is those evasion. They literally spend a whole week on just avoiding accidents. So I think in a safer environment, that's something that you guys can practice on your own one-on-one, is that practice those evasion and avoidance bike handling, so that you can feel more confident and react faster while you're on the roadway. That also can be evasive turns, and that means basically getting into a parking lot and go right over here or something, and just having a partner or somebody else that you're just pedaling along, and all of a sudden your partner yells out left, and now you got to evasively turn left. So that's going to immediately, you've got to figure out, so that you don't wreck, how to brake, how to do everything that you need to do. Or it could be an obstacle or something, right? That you've got to immediately come to a slow down, stop, or whatever, or avoid that obstacle. I think practicing those techniques is going to pay off huge when you come out to a group ride or things like that, to do those when stuff does pop up or you're riding out slow. Again, to about the car door opening, that evasive turn, that's exactly what you need to do. That car door comes open, evasive turn to the opposite direction. Threshold braking, that's another thing, right? being able to go pressure on, pressure off, pressure on, pressure off on the brakes. That will stop you faster than you slamming on the brakes and freaking out, right? That's the same thing in a vehicle, same thing when it comes to a police vehicle, even with the brand new brakes that they put on vehicles nowadays. It's the same thing. Because before it used to be that you'd stomp on the brakes and they'd become overheated and they just give up and stop. And then you're plowing into whatever it was. And that's why they taught was threshold braking, is pressure on, pressure off, pressure on, pressure off. You're allowing that to cool down in between. Now you can slam on the brakes, it's just gonna lock up the tires and you're gonna slide and all that. But the same thing with a bike, that you can do that pressure on, pressure off, pressure on, pressure off. That's
Well, we
called
did
threshold braking.
those drills, the quick stop, remember? You throw your
Yeah.
butt back on the seat,
Yeah,
put on the left brake, front brake.
yeah.
We do those skill
Yeah.
tests.
And that even pressure
Quick
with the
stop.
bike, yeah, because you grab one side and it's gonna cause the other thing. You know, you grab the front brake accidentally and
You need to practice
freaking
that.
out, you're going over the handlebar.
Quick stop.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
definitely something, is that threshold braking, just something to think about, practicing stuff like that. Losing control and gaining control, right? You going off the roadway and coming back on, right? I mean, I would probably get nervous going off the roadway on a bike, right? But they teach us that in the academy, right? We go off the roadway, how are we getting back on, right? And what they teach us in the academy is off the gas, off the brakes, look where you want to go, steer where you want to go, right? That's the technique you're supposed to follow. I think that it can really come over to the bicycle side as well, right? Now, I mean, you're bumping around and all that a lot more on a bike, but I think it off the brakes, off the pedals, don't input into the bike, steer the bike where you want to go and get back onto the road, right? You don't have to immediately freak out and jerk the bike over, because then that's when you're going over, you're sliding it, right? The bike will come back out. All right, so that was just one of those little ideas that I kind of came up with that might help with some just bike handling, just help with some confidence. I think can definitely be a huge thing on the roadway. And also equipment. I know a lot of good riders in here tonight, but equipment is a big thing. I discovered radar lights within the last year. Absolutely love that thing. Like, it was the best $200 whatever that I spent on it. I bought the Wahoo one. Love it, because I wanted all my Wahoo stuff to work together. But anyway, yeah, and so I love it, absolutely. Safest thing, I think that's the biggest safety piece of equipment I've ever bought, especially when I'm out riding by myself. Huge. That you can. Yeah, and what it is it's a light that it gives you the bicycle light in the back, right? It gives you the flashing red light, very bright, either the Garmin or the Wahoo. And then, but it also detects, it's a radar, and so it can detect a vehicle coming up, 500 plus feet back behind you, and it will show up on a head unit, on your computer unit on your bike, right? And it will show you how far back the car is, and then when it's coming up closer, you can literally see it on your screen as it starts to get closer. You don't have to literally turn around and look anymore. I mean, you definitely should, absolutely, but it definitely gives you a little bit more of awareness of knowing what's behind you. And then it also can show you how fast cars are coming. It'll change the way it alerts you, the sound and everything, and how dark red it gets, but how fast they're coming up behind you. I love it. Absolutely one of the safest things that I think that a cyclist can buy. I skipped over the biggest thing to forget when you leave out the door for being a safe cyclist is your head, right? Again, back to that whole thing, don't lose your head when you come out. Like, enjoy your time, definitely relax, that's what it's all about, social, but don't forget your head when you go out for a ride. A simple head turn, right? Looking back behind you, constantly knowing what's around you is a huge, just your awareness, right? Turn your head. Obviously, you're gonna end up with a stiff neck if you don't by the end of the ride, right? Stiff shoulders, back, but just constantly just turn around, turn and look to your side. What's around you? What's constantly scanning, gazing? What is behind you every now and then, right? And let's see. I went over the radar detection and the lights. Even just a simple light, right? You know, you don't have to have the radar detection. I think it adds a layer of safety when you are on the road. But $20 on Amazon and you can get a light that allows you to be seen from behind, right? So not a big purchase there, just having a light. Also bike lights that have the video recording. Paul, I think is one of.
Paul has one or two. There's a
Yeah.
7, one for the headlight, one for the tail light, which leads me to a question that I have, because I've experienced it on Ellajoy,
Uh-huh.
where there'll be 3 or 4 of us, we break into smaller groups because of the
Mhm.
traffic, and Paul caught one where a car was in front of Mark J. Libby. This car passed, it was Mark and me and then Paul, and then just practically hit Mark, just pulling over and then just getting in front because it was trying to dart around. And so then Paul send the video clip to the Buck County Police Department, and he did, and they said, and the license plate clear as day and all this, and they said, well, we can't do anything about it. And we like, why can't you do anything about it? And they said, well, because we can't prove who was driving the car, so there's no point in going to talk to them, is what they said. And so those are the kinds of things that we face, and it's like, well, do I turn in the video, do I not turn in the video? And so, yes, I'm always advocating that we have to be the ones to speak up, and
Yeah.
eventually something will happen, which is why what happened on River Road was awful, but we were really happy to see the positive result that came from the persistence that you
Yeah.
and Jill did in making sure that that incident was followed through, that the man was taken to court, and things were solved. So
Yeah.
our questions kind of relate to those gray areas.
And that's what I was going to get to here in just a little bit about when we get into the incidents and stuff. And that's why I was trying to work through some of this a little bit quicker, because I know I am taking more time than what we
It's okay,
planned
it's
on.
all good. This is all good stuff to hear, right? So
But
we have all
definitely, I
different
will come back to that
experiences here.
because I do want to talk about that whole being able to put a charge on somebody. And I don't agree with the whole we can't even go and talk to them. I think that's baloney.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the whole being able to actually put a charge on somebody, I think that could be maybe where the whole tie up in that might be. We'll come back to that in just a second. And I was leading up to the bad distracted drivers. So as far as back to the lights for just one more second, those lights that do capture the video and pictures and things from the front, rear, whichever, absolutely great. Absolutely great. As far as you are already capturing that evidence without even having to process or think about that, oh, something just happened, I need to snap a picture. And a lot of times we don't think about that. Like, I didn't think about that when that Jeep cut in front of me. Absolutely, that's better to yield all day. Snap a picture of his license plate, but I didn't. I was ready, just moving along. I was already, I was almost about to make it to the first break, And so, and then back after that, I'm like, man, you could have got a picture, So, but again, that's happening in real time. That takes video and video, but you can take pictures from that in real time. I think it's extremely crucial, awesome, safe, and they are a little bit more expensive and things like that. I don't even have something like that, but I think someone having it is a great on a group ride. Just to know that is out there.
Karen has one. Who in here has one?
Oh,
Gina?
very nice.
I have the cycling one.
Great.
And
Yeah.
then Karen has a camera.
Oh, very
Yeah, she always takes great videos of us riding. I think.
Yeah. Oh, and you end up with the really cool videos.
Yeah.
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 Just like having a GoPro. Yeah, that would be the best part for me. Yeah. Yeah. But if you can get the mountains in the background, it's a cool picture. All right, so now we'll move on into the bad and distracted drivers. No, dogs is coming. Bad and distracted drivers. As a police officer, there are a lot. I mean, you guys have seen them on the road and stuff like that, but a lot of bad drivers and distracted driving that happens. But as an officer, I see it a lot more, and I see the accidents that happen because of people being distracted. Some of the routine distractions that I've commonly seen is obviously number one, phone. I mean, that's just that you literally see people driving down the road like this, just like, it just. I mean, there was one one ride 2 weeks ago, and I'm like literally like hands free, as the guy's turning, and he's literally doing this, turning by us.
Yeah.
Anyway, but phone, radio, and my arch nemesis, Apple CarPlay not working, because I'm constantly like, I need to pull up. Like, Apple CarPlay not working, it always happens. My cord, I guess, isn't the right kind or something. But passengers, I mean, talking to a passenger constantly, if I had Paul in the passenger seat, I'd probably. I'm kidding. Paul, if you're watching, sorry, love you. Eating, obviously, and then in our area, what do we end up with in this area that we ride in often, right? Visitors, tourists, looking at the beautiful scenery. Oh, wow.
Bears.
Let's
Like,
go.
oh, there's bears over there?
Tomorrow.
They will wreck a car to go see a bear. Yeah, anyway, so yeah, the beautiful scenery in this area. Pay attention to other motorists, right? They're going to see a motorist before they ever see you on a bike, right? I just hate to see it. I hate to say it, but they're seeing other motorists before they see a cyclist. General exhaustion, that's another big one that I see wrecks happen from. And the big one, not to scare anybody, is under the influence. It is a lot more, it's out there a lot more than you might realize. People that drive by you that are under the influence. I mean, how many times have we been riding our bikes and we smell the glorious smell of weed go down the road? And you're like, they're enjoying their time out in the Smokies. Yeah, great, all right, enjoy your time, but not on the road, right? They're driving by you, and so you're in my head, I'm going, this guy's driving a 20,000-pound metal object past me, right? That's what I'm thinking of. But and not to scare you, just something to be conscious of is that there are a lot more people that are under the influence that are driving around than I think common people realize happens day by day. And so how can you fight back, right? And that's, again, back to that always scanning, always knowing your situation, your current surroundings, is just constantly being aware of that, right? And you'll get better at that, being able to like have a cool conversation, but you're also paying attention to what's going on around you. That multitasking does come. Just practice that. Practice and know just what is around you. Let's see, the situation surroundings at all times, all right. And then I think reporting those bad drivers, which we'll get to in just a second, is can you report a bad driver? Absolutely you can. Absolutely, that whole situation of him pulling over or crossing over and almost hitting another cyclist, or did hit. Almost did, okay, but I cut him off, right? If I remember the video.
Yeah, it was
very,
very,
very
okay.
close.
Yeah, absolutely, cutting him off, absolutely. If it's that close and everybody's going, whoa, like, and it's on video, absolutely, please report that. I don't want people to be like, oh, nobody cares. And then nobody ever does. That's the biggest load of crap that I've heard. And I hate that your response was, well, we can't even go talk to them. Like, absolutely, the registered vehicle, there's an owner to that vehicle. Who was driving the vehicle that day? Right? That's the first question. Now, does that mean that I can take a criminal charge onto that person for them to say, oh yeah, my son Jack was driving it? No, I don't think that is enough probable cause for me to say, okay, well, Jack's getting this citation or this misdemeanor arrest, right, for failure to yield or failure, improper passing, something like that on that roadway. I can't just try to tie it into that situation.
You should get a talking to though.
Right, absolutely, yeah. And I think that is a presence alone of coming to be like, hey, they tracked me down.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
We're watching.
Like,
Somebody's
yeah.
watching.
Big, you don't realize how much, even in today's world, I will say that even in 11 years I've seen that kind of change, that people are like, oh, it's the cops, whatever. But an officer coming and say it's a 16-year-old driver. You know, an officer come and say, hey, you know, who was driving your vehicle? I've got a video of you, or this vehicle, cutting off the cyclist, and almost hit him. And I'm like, who was driving on this day? It wasn't me. Oh, it must be my son or whoever. Okay. And then that 16-year-old kid is literally sitting there shaking as an officer on the front porch because somebody has at least reported that to the police and said, hey, this is what, and it's led me to your doorstep. Absolutely, I think that still can be a huge.
To let them know they could have killed somebody.
Right, and I still
How
think.
would you like to have that on?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, and
To make
I think
you aware that
that's-
you've almost killed somebody.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that is still can be a huge benefit to at least some of these bad drivers, and we will get to some of the ones that obviously deserve charges, like the guy that ended up last year. But some of these, like you get buzzed by a car or something, like absolutely, just showing up on their doorstep, and be like, dude, I saw the video of what happened because that cyclist, called in, and I think that still can be a huge. That officer presence coming and talking to them, at least you're right, talking to them, if anything, can be some benefit. Now, obviously, I think a citation would be great, and that they have to pay an actual fine now for what they did. I think that would be great, but let's see. So yeah, absolutely, please report that. And I put some of the local numbers here, but I know some people might ride in other jurisdictions and stuff like that. Just Google that number, that non-emergency number. In that situation, that would be a non-emergency. You're okay. Yes, okay, that was a little close call. They obviously went on. They're not stopping. It's not turning into anything more than what it was. I'm okay. We're still riding. Then just when you get back, report that non-emergency number, whatever jurisdiction that you might have been in. Just let them know, hey, this is what happened. I do have video of this. I do have the tag number. It's pretty clear as day. I would like for you to follow up on this. Do you have every right to follow up from them? Absolutely. Call them back. Be like, hey, I reported this the other day. Where's this going? I mean, and that's what I stayed on with Jill about last year. Call them back, call them back, call them back, call them back, call them back. Jill, call them back. And I knew that I couldn't have done it, but thank God Jill was like, yeah, you're right. We're gonna call them back. And she stuck with it, and I loved it. And she did it, and she stuck with it, and it was awesome. It turned into something really good. Again, that evidence, those pictures, videos, if you do have those cameras, absolutely great. Send it over. What's the worst? Like they're gonna tell you, okay, sorry. Like we can't really take it much further, but I think that at least going and talking to them I would be like, okay, thank you. That's something that I can work with. That's at least something. But I will get into the more details here in a little bit about what the incidents and stuff and pressuring and saying like, I know I want that case number, I want that report number, I want that. I want this to happen. Absolutely, I am a servant of the community. That is what I'm there to do. Okay. It is okay to say, no, I want an officer to come out to this scene and be here. I'm going to stay here. My witnesses are going to stay here until they come. I'm on my own. Right? All right. So we'll get back to that in a second on the incidents. Sidestep onto the dogs because we're talking about bad distracted drivers and things like that. So with dogs, and I kind of went with this category because you mentioned it, and I was like, yeah, it is kind of, what do you do? Like, I've came across dogs in my field of working, responding to calls and, walking up to a house, and the next thing I know, a pit bull's coming out, nope, like I'm going the other way, right? And of course, I don't want to turn it into a tragic situation where an officer does have to shoot a dog that is attacking an officer or something like that. That does happen. But obviously I am a dog lover because I've worked the dog for 6 years, and she is literally probably spend more time with her than I do with my fiance. Just saying, and my fiance knows it. So, but anyway, I love dogs, right? So, but again, when I've came across on group rides and things, we've had a dog come out. Usually it's a Chihuahua. Flying out from the house. Sometimes they can be pretty big, and that's when you go like, okay, I'm a little nervous now. But the main thing with dogs that I could come up with and think was just obviously protect yourself first, and that could be a plethora of ideas to do, right? I think that, and this could come from the veterans in the room cycling. Oh, yeah. The veterans in the room, cycling veterans that could, absolutely. Awesome. I didn't even know they had that. But that have certain techniques and stuff, absolutely. Certain techniques that they do, or they know where the dogs are that do come out, things like that. That's part of that, going ahead and knowing, like, oh, we're going to get up here to this house. Like, hey, be a little cautious, Obviously, I said avoidance is the best, but it's not always possible, right? Speeding up and away away from the dog. Obviously, we would all like to do that. I'm not gonna say that if it's on an incline, no, I'm not speaking. I'm gonna be dragging behind, if anything, and now a dog's gonna come out. Now, there was one on Cold Springs, I think, one time, long time, and it came out, and I was, or not on Cold Springs, we were going up on Carr Street, maybe. It was an incline, and the dog came out, and I'm like, crap, like, I'm in trouble. But anyway, speeding up, that can be something, speeding up, getting away from it. Spray the water and spray the water bottle in the dog's face. If it's that close and it's that aggressive, absolutely pull the water back. At least do something. Spray it in the face. Usually hit the dog in the face with water or something like that is going to cause it to be like, oh, what the hell was that? And then go the other way, right? Right? I don't think you're going to really end up with making a dog more pissed. Obviously, it's going to be pissed, but at least it's going to be like that stutter of, well, what did they just do to me? You know, so that's just something. If it's that close, I'm actually spraying it with my water bottle, doing something to make it go away. I did say, I don't know, what is that? Is that a sound or is that a?
No,
It's a
spray.
spray. Okay, so
Pepper spray.
I said pepper spray if you carry it.
Do you
Probably
have
not
to
a
worry
bad-
about people behind you?
Yes,
Okay.
and
'cause I'm like-
that was literally the next line was
Yeah.
that pepper spray. If you carry it, great. I don't even carry it on my belt when I go to work.
And make sure you're
Because-
turning it the right way.
Yeah.
That lady
Yeah.
sprayed herself
Oh,
in the face.
Oh,
She
yeah. Get your
was
own
spraying
self.
dog.
But that's the other thing. The people behind you are going to suffer. Like, so is it always the best option? Probably not. For the amount of times you're probably going to
They usually get the
cross.
last person in line though.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Which is usually me, so I carry it.
Yeah. Usually, if you're, if
Where am I?
in the amount of times you're going to potentially come across a dog, is it really worth carrying that extra thing? Maybe not. But something like that, that is actually kind of handy to have.
I had a friend that carried firecrackers once.
Oh.
Patsy and I were like, we should shake
You
it.
gonna light it?
Yeah.
I ran along and I'm like, oh,
so
you
you
can
just
just shake
snap
it
it,
throwing
throw
it
it
around.
around.
Wish we would have known this when he did it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a
so-
good
To get caught
time.
in.
Again, if you do get a dog bite, that's what I was getting to, is if you do get a dog bite, know that a dog bite can absolutely set up an infection very fast. So please stop. If it is a severe enough injury, obviously definitely call 911 to come get them to at least wash it out on scene and stuff like that. Let alone you're able to obviously make yourself stay away from the dog, get to where you can be safe, but also knowing where that dog came from, because that's the next
Counties
thing.
have different laws about dogs, or is it a state that will actually have
It should be different counties with a leash law, right? Different counties, and I can't.
What county has a leash law,
Yeah, I
right?
was
We're
gonna say, I
supposed to
think
be.
one does. I know Knox does.
most do.
Most do, even in the county, in the rural areas, like you can absolutely. But if you are bit, absolutely, if it is severe enough, I'll just call 911, get them to clean it out on scene. But that was the next thing I was getting to is documenting. If anything, you're saving another cyclist that's going to be coming down the road, and at least be like, we
Right.
know that this dog is going to be coming out of this house, or that could potentially come out of this house, right? That's always a good information to know for another cyclist. But then also document it that you, if you are bit enough to where you have to seek medical attention, absolutely report that dog. Do not let that be a situation that you just let go by. Report that. Call your local, whether it's the sheriff's office or if you're in the city, call the city. I put both numbers on there, but I believe it's actually the same numbers for both. But if it is severe enough, 911 is going to get you to the right one, right? And then call them, get that report done. I want a case number of me being bit, right? Other witnesses, I'd like them on that report. And then they're going to follow up with that dog's owner. They're going to follow up where that dog came from. Obviously, that dog's probably going to end up in animal control that day. And I think there's like a now state law. I think it's like a 3-day quarantine for dogs that bite a human, to where they have to go through and get all of their shots and stuff evaluated and different things like that. Obviously, it allows time for your blood work to go through and make sure that you're not going to set up an infection. But Absolutely do not let one of those things be a reason you don't report. Please report that. Even if it's just a dog coming out, it's like, okay, that dog got a little too close. Like, we need to definitely, I want to report that. Call that non-emergency number. Say, hey, we've been out on a ride. This dog keeps coming out. I would like an animal control officer to go there and speak with them about their dog just being kept in their yard. I'm not coming into their yard, so why do I have to feel unsafe when I'm on a public roadway and their dog's coming out towards me? So definitely something that is 100%, and that's what I said. If you don't report it, then who will? We all talked about that earlier, right? If you don't report it, then who is going to? And then the next cyclist comes along, or the walker, and they get attacked by the dog. So definitely something that you can help protect other cyclists and stuff. All right, so the big thing is getting into these incidents and accidents. So you've done everything right. You've done all the right things, and still you end up you try to be the safest and the cyclist on the road, and you still some idiot is just pissed that you're even present on the roadway. What can you do? And the first thing that I got to was the one thing that we end up seeing more than anything is all the just blatant comments and stuff that people want to shout out as you're riding by. You're doing your thing, and they decide that they want to shout out a comment. Or you get the motorcycles that ride by and do the stupid acting like they're on a bike. See, the best thing, and that someone asked me that, what do we do with that? Like, we're just riding. Like, none of us have shouted at them, and now they're shouting stupid stuff out at us. They're making, gestures or comments towards us that are obviously, what do we do? And I'm like, don't do anything. Don't give that person the satisfaction that you even heard them. I think that I understand, because I get upset too when I see it. I was on one, a guy did that stupid motorcycle thing, like acting like he's on a bike, and I'm like I wanted to give a thumbs up or do something back, like, okay, I don't care, but just not caring, I think, is the biggest thing that can hurt them the most. To be like, oh man, they must have not saw me. Like, and now their jokes fell flat on their end, right? So that's the best thing. Just ignore them, I think, can be the biggest thing, especially when they shout something out at you, even if you don't even turn your head.
Half the time you can't hear what they're saying.
Yeah, and then you're like, what? And don't even give them that. I think that's beautiful when they shout something and we're just all straight in line, like focused, and they're like, yeah. I don't even give them that, because then they know they've gotten under your skin.
You should give them like the gesture, like they give each other.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're
Yeah.
peeps, and that would make it matter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, so moving on from that real quick, buzzed by vehicles. That's one of those things, like I was talking about, the bad drivers, they cut you off, or like I said, they buzz too close, obviously below that 3-foot wall, but it is state law. Absolutely report that. That is a non-emergency report. Please call that non-emergency number at the end of the ride. Nobody's staying, that person's obviously buzzed you and went on. Doesn't mean that you need to stay right there. Obviously take a mental note where you're at, where it happened, anything that you can remember, make, model of the car. If you're really good at that, you can remember the tag number, great. Things like that, or if you have video of the incident taking place, great. Please report that. The non-emergency number, absolutely. Speak to somebody, and I think that if anything, if they said a comment like that about like, oh, well, there's not a whole lot we can do to help with that, then like, well, can you at least go and speak to that driver or at least the owner of that vehicle?
The way I see it is you don't get what you don't ask for.
Right.
So you gotta ask, and you gotta ask again and again and again, and if they can't do that, then say, well, if you can't do this, then how about that? And if
Right.
you can't do that, then what can you do?
Right. And then
Make them offer what they can do and say, okay, and then just lean into that, and then,
right.
And
you have that was the next thing, you have every right to request for that report. I would like a report. Please give me my case number. I'm gonna be like, okay, cool. Like, that's gonna be, I'll type it up for you. And I understand it, because I've done it for 11 years, and I've gotten their yard clippings done on my yard clippings, and I'm like, you want a report? Yes. Okay. Guess what my job is to do. That is why I signed up. I'm here to to do your report for you. So absolutely, get that report, get that case number, because I think that anything, that's at least put it on paper, so that if that, all of a sudden it's happening more, and it's the same car, and it's this, and this is what led to last
It's a
year,
record.
right? It's the same car that keeps doing this stuff. It's this, and so that's, again, more and more information that piles up. Maybe it's just a make and model of a car this time, right? It's a Ford Explorer. Okay, yeah, that's what I was getting to, sorry. But then just knowing that, and the next time somebody got the tag number, right? So that's something that just report that and get that on paper. It's there forever. You got the report number, so if it continues to happen, you can bring that up. Let's see. Skip ahead on. Okay, and then that was the other thing, is it may require you to present evidence and stuff to get a citation done. That might be something else. And again, on that is just that identification of that driver. If you can ID that driver, like give me a great description of that driver, that's what happened last year. Awesome. That helped propel that into us being able to put, not me, but Blount County being able to pursue charges on that person. And then I go into the direct altercation, which is what happened last year. Driver actively attempting to strike or assault a cyclist. Obviously, that is a dial 911 immediately, as soon as possible. Which I believe there was a 911 call made immediately as soon as all that was happening with all of them last year. If I'm not
I think
wrong,
so.
because the person got out of the vehicle and everything.
Yeah.
So, and I know I want to
No,
get
you're
some
good.
times where you can
Nope.
share that story, because I think that's the ultimate of all of this. So dial 911 immediately as soon as possible. Give an exact location. Again, location. Knowing where you're at. Something's just happened. Now you have to tell somebody where you're at, right? So knowing that location is important. Give an exact location, or at least the best description of where you're at. Provide crucial details of what has occurred or is occurring. Who, what, when, where, why, right? Simple, elementary school. Evidence, that should be the next thing. Pictures, videos, make, model of a car, license plate number, description of the driver, occupants, like all of those things can be extremely useful for that report, if anything, but also knowing who is involved and what's going on. Obviously, take pictures, videos the best that you can. Obviously, protect yourself and keep yourself safe, but also try to document that, what's going on. And the biggest thing that I took away from last year, and I told Ms. Cromwell and all of them, is demand that officer to come to the scene, right? With dispatch. You're talking to dispatch at this point, right? But I need an officer here. Like, this has just happened, I need an officer here. I know we all want to go at that point and continue our ride and stuff, but when something like that has absolutely happened, stop. Safely stop, like away from the situation. But definitely stop and have an officer come out to do a report right there close to where it happened. I think that is a huge thing when something like that serious happens. And again, back to that, demand that report on the scene by an officer, right? They're going to obviously have to go and type it up later, but you can at least be handed that case number. This is the report number. This is what's all being typed up by the police and stuff, and you at least have that case up number to follow up with either that officer or the detective that gets assigned to that investigation. And then that's where I was wanting to get into with what happened last year. If you don't care.
With Donna Cromwell, let me